guys, welcome back to the Puerto Rico Skyview channel. My name is Manuel Santiago, and if you are here, it means that you read the title. Today we are talking about, again, once more, the 15 to 35 Nano USM f2.8L lens. This lens is pretty controversial. The last time that I reviewed the lens, most of you were in the comments arguing, no, the 28 to 70 f2 is the best one, the 24 to 70, there was a lot of arguments whether this lens is the most powerful in the RF lineup or not. So I decided to take this lens for my works, for my paid jobs, and oh man, it did surprise me a lot. I found out that there are some tips and tricks to get the most out of this lens, and believe me, the results are amazing. First, we will talk about this lens and the video side of things. And before I do that, I want to thank all of my subscribers for subscribing. This channel is growing into a big community. I am very excited for what that means for this channel in the near future. Now, let's talk about the video side of things for this 15 to 35 RF glass. As opposed to the first time that I talked about this lens, today I want to bring you some tips and tricks to get the most out of this lens, because I think that if you are beginning in photography, if you are beginning in videography, this lens is one of the most haves, because, well, it's like two lenses in one, as I like to say, because you can use it 15 to 35, it has image stabilization, but the image stabilization, this is the first tip, it is very effective when you're using it 26 to 35 millimeters. That's the focal range that eliminates the wobble if you are using either the R6 or the R5. If you are using the Canon EOS R and you tend to shoot video in 4K with that camera, you're in for a treat, because this lens paired up with the 1.6 crop, it turns the 15 to 35 focal range into a 24 to 56 millimeters. So you won't get to see any wobble or any sort of crazy things happening to your image with the use of this lens. Another awesome tip that I got for you guys is that this lens has an 82 millimeter filter thread. What does that mean? That if you have, let's say, the 24 to 70 f2.8, which is amazing, it is sharp, very contrasty colors from that glass, and distortion almost non-existent, as well as the aperture. The aperture is 2.8, so in dark situations you will get a lot of detail without the noise. So that lens also has 82 millimeters in its filter thread, as well as the most magical lens that I have ever owned. The 85 millimeter has an 82 filter thread, and that means that if you have this lens and an ND filter like this one, which I really like, this one, an ND filter from Nisi, the True Color series, amazing performance, and it will let you use your 2.8 aperture in almost every situation. You will use the same ND filter for the 15 to 35, 24 to 70, and the 85 millimeter f1.2. Okay, now for my third tip, using the lens, getting the most out of it. If you want to get rid of that wobble and you have, let's say, an Airbnb shoot, or you have some important paid work and you want your footage looking as professional as possible, I deeply recommend that you turn off your image stabilization on the lens. That will turn off the IBIS on the camera as well, but if you have your camera on a gimbal, the footage will be buttery smooth. As you can see from this clip, I was chasing my dog through the backyard, and man, she moves a lot, she's very hyperactive, and as you can see, no wobble, no crazy wobble in the corners, no wobbling in the image, rolling shutter, almost not existent with these cameras. I dare to say, with the EOS R, yes, we did see some rolling shutter problems, but that is think of the past with the R6, R5, these cameras handle this amazingly. So for video, what are my current uses for this lens? Well, I use this lens for almost everything. I use this lens when I want to give emphasis into the subject by turning it all the way up to 35. And if I want even more emphasis, activate the crop mode on the R6, R5, or even the 4K mode on my EOS R to match later in post as a B cam mainly. But that gives you amazing emphasis on your subjects. And if you want to emulate like the focal vision that we humans have, you can turn it up to down to 24 millimeters, and that will give you a focal range that simulates that eye vision that we humans have. When I say that we humans have, it's kind of funny because it almost sounds like I'm an alien or something like that. And for amazingly dramatic landscape shots, turn this lens down to 50 millimeters and you will get amazing results for that matter. Sometimes for architecture, that's really nice, even though the lines in the corners get a little stretched. But if you go down to 50 millimeters, that will give you flexibility in post like no other lens can achieve. Yes, you may have the 16 to 35. I've had the 16 to 35 for a long time, and decided to pull the trigger on this 15 to 35, and I was amazed. The 15 millimeter focal range, those extra pixels are really worth it when you are doing paid work for NVMBs and you find yourself in these tight spaces and you want to make the rooms seem larger than life. Well, that's where this lens comes in clutch. Also, the f2.8 aperture, it will let it, tons of light into the lens. Sometimes I'd had to bring a lot of lighting because I had the 16 to 35 f4, and that's a pretty sharp lens, but it's not letting in that much light. When using this lens, only one light, this camera, and you are set. If you have an incredible dim space or low light space situation, no worries, this lens has you covered, and it brings with it all of the sharpness that 16 to 35 used to have, in my opinion, sometimes even exceeding it. Because if you stop down this lens to f4 or even 5.6, you will get super sharp images from corner to corner and perfect image quality in the center. Very good color contrast throughout the zoom range. Oh, another tip when using this lens and pairing it up with the EOS R5, for instance, which has 8K, the image can produce very heavy file sizes, and this lens can get a lot of details in that image, making it very hard for our computers to read the codec. But most of us are using 4K, the 4K HQ mode on the EOS R5. I have found a way by using this lens this past month to smooth your workflow in post if you're using Premiere Pro. And it's a very quick tip. Let's jump into it. So where you are in Premiere Pro and you import all of your ProRes RAW from your Ninja V or Ninja V Plus, they can be a little bit sluggish if you're using the 8K version of the files, but I found that if you go into the sequence settings and then you lower the resolution from 8K into 4K DCI, and then you go into the files, you grab them, put it on the sequence, and rescale them to 50%, playback will be as smooth as butter. So that's an amazing tip, because you can use this lens and its widest 50 millimeters, and then you can rescale the image without losing any details. That is amazing. That's something that you cannot achieve with the 4K HQ. Even though that you can do it, it will not produce sharp enough images as the 8K mode does from the R5. So that's like having another entire set of lenses with you when you are outside on the field. That being said, bringing this lens to a shoot is like bringing almost 4 lenses, because you have the 15 to 35 focal range, which is really useful. And if you get the crop mode from the EOS R, EOS R5, EOS R6, you will gain that 24 to 56 millimeters, which is like a short telephoto lens, and image quality will be amazing. And you won't have to compromise with an aperture of f4 or f5.6 or higher. You will get f2.8 throughout all of the zoom range, even in crop mode. So for me, that is almost a no-brainer. Sometimes I even use this lens as sort of a macro when using the crop mode, because when you crop in on the EOS R5 sensor, the crop mode turns your camera into an 18 megapixel size sensor. So 18 megapixels is still retaining a lot of quality. So when you shoot the crop modes, you can still crop in a little bit further, and that will produce very dramatic results. And when you're using the 15 to 35, paired up with that image quality that this lens provides, for me, it's still one of the most powerful lenses in the RF lineup. I said still one of the most powerful lenses because there's a surprise that I have for you guys. I have ordered something really powerful for the RF mount, and I can't wait to showcase this on my channel. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and let me know in the comments, what do you think that I got for the RF mount and will be reviewing next on this channel. So to finish up my review, I will say it. This is the most powerful lens on the entire RF mount as of today that has been here on this channel. I encourage you to subscribe for more awesome reviews. Like I said, I have a surprise for you guys in a couple of weeks maybe, or in a week. Time will tell, but I will be reviewing one of the most powerful things that you can have alongside of your camera. And man, it is amazing. I have gotten amazing results with what I am about to show you guys. So until the next one.